Good morning and welcome back to our news bulletin, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Saria Stremska. And we begin in Macedonia. A fire at a nightclub in North Macedonia has left dozens of people either dead or injured. The number of victims is still being determined. However, local authorities said it is likely to be greater than 50. The accident occurred in a small town of around 30,000 inhabitants during a concert by a hip-hop group popular in the country. The blaze broke out inside the building and quickly spread to the ceiling and roof of the club. The concert, which started at midnight, was attended mainly by young people. Speculations regarding the cause of the incident are already floating around. According to local media, the fire could have been sparked by ill-advised use of pyrotechnics during the concert. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Saturday in a third such call since Trump took office. During the call, Rubio informed Lavrov about U.S. military action against the Houthis in Yemen and discussed the next steps in the Ukraine peace talks. A State Department spokesperson said Rubio and Lavrov agreed to continue working towards restoring communication between the United States and Russia. The call took place 2 days after Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, visited Moscow to discuss peace talks and push for a 30-day ceasefire agreement. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that while he supports the idea of a ceasefire, certain issues need to be resolved before truce can take effect. Ukraine has agreed to implement the truce earlier this week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged Western allies to clarify their position on security guarantees, including potential presence of foreign troops in Ukraine. Speaking during a virtual meeting organized by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Zelensky said that clear commitments regarding the functioning of allied troop contingents as well as security investments are a must.
Sanctions against Russia must not only be maintained, but continuously strengthened. And I ask you to take these steps and to work with your partners on this. Second, we must define a clear position on security guarantees. Security is the key to making peace reliable and lasting. We need to keep working on the contingents that will form the foundation of Europe's future armed forces. Peace will be more reliable with the European contingents on the ground and the American side as a backstop. There must be clear commitments on how this will function. The same goes for investments in defense production, both in Ukraine, where it's now growing the fastest, and in your countries. Europe needs its own arsenals and the capability to produce the most advanced weapons. It shouldn't take you 3 to 5 years to produce ammunition when it's about your defense and it's about your security. Please do it as soon as possible. Also, I ask you not to forget about strengthening air defense both in Ukraine and in the future in your countries.
More than 100,000 protesters converged on Serbia's capital, Belgrade, Saturday in what could be the largest in a series of anti-corruption demonstrations that have upended the Balkan country in recent months. Our correspondent, Don Arlev, was on the ground, and this is his report.
After 3.5 months of constant protests in Serbia, of course, here the culmination in Belgrade is absolutely unbelievable. The amount of people that we have seen going throughout the streets and, of course, gathered in one of the main squares in the city is like nothing I've ever seen before. Some of the estimates that we've heard tonight are as low as 500,000, and some exceed around 800,000 people could be here. Of course, people descended from all over the country on the capital to protest the government, to protest President Alexander Vučić and his control of what these protesters claim is a corrupt regime. We talked to some of the people today, of course, and they told us what they thought about the current situation and how long they would protest here and around the country. Take a listen.
We're here to support students, to support justice, and not to provide violence, not to provocate people here. We are just here for the peace, for the love, and that's everything.
I can say for sure that our fight will definitely continue until we see results and until we see full results. The biggest thing we see is that basically this whole system is corrupt down to its very core.
The solution is to change the power. You know, there must be some democratic influences in power, not to be in hands of one party and the one man.
Now, on Friday night, there were also large protests here in the city. Saturday, obviously, as well. Whether these protests will continue in Belgrade itself, well, we'll just have to see on Sunday. Reporting from Belgrade, Don Arleth, TVP World.
President Vučić is politically finished, said Professor Tanya Domi of Columbia University in an interview with TVP World when explaining the situation in Serbia. She added that there is no precedent for the countrywide student demonstrations, as Vučić hasn't been able to quell them in any way.
In my conversations with people in Belgrade, they are enthralled, they are thrilled, and according to accounts I'm hearing, is that the EU has more or less behind the scenes warned Mr. Vučić, if you turn on guns against the people, you are done. But a lot of people believe on the street, and that are analysts on Serbia, they believe that President Vučić has run his game, and this game is not going to deliver a win for him. He is essentially, in the view of many people, he is politically finished, especially if he turns to violence.
And we continue on the topic of protests, this time in Hungary. Tens of thousands of Hungarians rallied in the capital Budapest against Prime Minister Viktor Orbán last night. The leader of the surging opposition TISA party, Peter Magyar, pledged to make Hungary part of a strong Europe and bring an end to Orbán's rule.
The Hungarian people at last are making their voice heard. From the Turks to the Austrians, the Russians to the Orbáns, all tried to silence that voice and terrorized to shut their mouths. But we have good news. They did not succeed before, and they will not succeed now either. Hungary wants to live again. Spring is coming, the spring of the Hungarians, and together we will put an end to the winter of Orbán.
Hungarian MEP Zoltán Tar noted that it is crucial to get the opposition's message through, especially amid an increased activity of government mouthpieces and social media trolls. Here's more.
And obviously we have to, just like in Poland, we also have to take care of many other aspects of society. First of all, the life of the media. We don't have free media at the moment. The state media is controlled by the government and only telling what the government tells them to say, which makes it impossible for us to reach the people. So we are using social media to do that, but they are also coming up and introducing trolls and all kinds of bots in order to break down activities in the social media.
The European Commission is considering an expansion of its satellite network to prop up the bloc's military intelligence, EU Defense Chief Andrius Kubilius said in an interview with the Financial Times. The Lithuanian commissioner's words come amid growing uncertainty over whether the US will maintain its close security ties with Europe. The new satellites would primarily be used to better track military movements, which the EU cannot now update regularly enough with its Copernicus satellite service. The European Union has already been at work on the development of a competing internet connectivity service to Elon Musk's satellite constellation Starlink. Next week, Commissioner Kubilius is set to present a massive investment geared towards bolstering the EU's defense industry that would help counter any potential Russian threats. A massive gift to America's enemies. That's what Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty had dubbed the recent termination of a US federal grant to the Prague-based outlet. Since the early years of the Cold War, the broadcaster has been reaching audiences in undemocratic regimes with no unbiased media.
The cancellation of Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty's grant agreement would be a massive gift to America's enemies. The Iranian Ayatollahs, Chinese communist leaders and autocrats in Moscow and Minsk would celebrate the demise of RFE-RL after 75 years. Handing our adversaries a win would make them stronger and America weaker.
And now moving to Romania, the leader of Romania's hard-right party of young people, Ana Maria Gavrila, has joined the presidential race less than 2 months before the first round of the elections. Her move comes after pro-Russian Călin Georgescu, who won the first round of the annulled ballot in November, was banned from standing for the office in the upcoming rerun. Gavrila left the right-wing AUR party in 2021 to form her own grouping in 2023. In the voided election, she endorsed Georgescu. She will now vie against AUR leader George Simion, centre-right Elena Lasconi, pro-European Crin Antonescu and Victor Ponta, as well as Bucharest mayor Nicu Sordan. Thousands of Romanians took to the streets of Bucharest on Saturday night to show their support for the European Union. The protest came amid political wrangling over a rerun of the presidential election scheduled for May. Romania is due to repeat the vote after the Constitutional Court annulled the first ballot following allegations of Russian interference in favor of the Poles leader, Călin Georgescu.
Democracy is really at stake as we speak. We have far-right candidates that, based on a hate speech that they have been promoting for months, they're now maybe some of them on top for the next elections. And obviously with the state that never was never prepared for what happened back in November when the elections were cancelled. Well, if we put these together,
there have been so many extremist turbulences. We have to show that we are in the majority, not this handful of crazy people. My message would be for us not to forget why we had our revolution in 1989 and that we have a road to democracy which is hard. No one said it was going to be easy and there were not going to be any bumps in the road, but we cannot give up and go back now or at any time in the future.
At least 31 people have been killed and more than 100 injured in U.S. airstrikes on Yemen's Houthi rebels in the largest military operation since Trump took office. The U.S. president ordered the attack in retaliation for the group's Saturday attack on Red Sea shipping lanes. The spokesperson for the Houthi-run health ministry said that most of the victims were women and children, and the group's political bureau described the attack as a war crime. The strikes targeted the Houthi stronghold Sana'a, as well as military sites in the southwestern city of Taiz and a power station. More strikes are expected to follow, and President Trump has warned the Houthis' main backer, Iran, that it will face dire consequences if it doesn't withdraw its support for the group. According to the Pentagon, the Houthis have attacked U.S. warships and commercial vessels more than 300 times since 2023. The group explains the attacks as a show of solidarity with the Palestinians. And now time for some sports news. The Polish women relay team won silver in the 3,000-meter race at the World Short Track Speed Skating Championships in Beijing, falling just 0.067 seconds short of first place. Later the same day, Poland's mixed relay team took third place, bringing Poland's total medal tally to 2. The Polish women's relay team, surpassed only by the Canadians, consisted of Natalia Maliszewska, Kamila Stromowska, Nikola Mazur and Gabriela Topolska. The Netherlands took bronze. Initially in the third place, the Poles managed to overtake the Dutch team and were even in the lead for a moment. Although the victory was a close one, the Polish team was elated as their silver medal is only the second won by Poland in the history of the competition. In 2018 in Montreal, current team member Maliszewska finished second in the 500 meters individual event. And with this success story, we conclude World News. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.